Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, I'm going to be doing a review analysis of the Q&A segment of the 71st edition of Miss Universe that we saw take place on 14th of January. Now, the Q&A segment of any pageant is always the most dreaded and also the part of the pageant that a lot of us are looking forward to the most, even the ones that are not following pageants on a regular basis. So by now, if you watched the Miss Universe finale, then you would have already seen the answers given by the top 5 as well as the top 3 candidates at the event. And if you haven't, don't worry, I've got you covered. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing the answers, my thoughts on it, and also dropping in a few additional suggestions as to what tools and tricks you can use to give more impactful and inspiring answers if you're a pageant aspirant. So without further delay, let's jump straight into it. So the countries that made it to top 5 at the Miss Universe this time were extremely strong candidates. It was such a tough choice to actually even make it to top 5. And the countries that made it were Venezuela, USA, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Curacao. The first question at the top 5 stage of the competition was asked to Venezuela, and she was asked, "Tell me about a time you felt shame and how you turned that feeling into fuel." Now, whenever a pageant aspirant looks at such a question, one of the key strategies is that you have to obviously bring in a personal story here. And when I use the keyword impactful and inspiring, remember that while the question is asking you about a time you felt shame and how you turned that feeling into fuel, that is obviously a very descriptive question, but you still have to make sure that the answer is inspiring at the end. And in a way, you, as a title holder, it's one of your implied duties to be able to leave the audience and viewers with a message that would help them also not feel shame and try to see the positive side of things when they are facing a similar challenge. So Venezuela's answer was, she started with, "Thank you for the question." Now this is a good strategy to use when you need some additional time to frame your answer and put your thoughts together. So it's a great tactic. So when you say thank you for the question, it gives you a few additional seconds before you dive into the answer. And then she begins with her personal story itself, where she talks about a press con that she has, which is called The Forbidden Dream, which talks about the dream that she had to become a fashion designer, and she used to feel shame about it. Again, just like modeling and pageants, sometimes fashion designing is also a very unconventional path and is not supported in a lot of countries. And she felt that it was not possible for her to sustain her life, but I pursued it and demonstrated myself, the important thing. And here she uses the rule of 3. Now the rule of 3 means is that whenever you're trying to put out impactful keywords, it's always good to go in with a 3-point list, because it just retains in the memory of the audience much longer. And so what she did is that following our dreams, our passions, we are able to make an impact in every single action we take. It's not the most direct usage of the rule of 3, but there are 3 parts in which that phrase has been broken down into. So that's one key takeaway that you can have from this answer. And also look at how she actually shows a hint of vulnerability in that answer as well. And so she becomes very relatable as a contestant in that moment, and I think that definitely helped her move on to the top 3 as well. The next question was given to USA, our current Miss Universe 2022. One, you should already be aware of the changes that are happening in the pageant system all across the globe in general if you are a current aspirant. And the question was, what's an other change you would like to see and why? Now at Miss India level, this is for my Indian audience, if you are watching this and a similar question is posed to you, obviously one of the changes that I personally feel that we can definitely look for in coming years at Miss India level is that the same rule which states that in the past you could have never been engaged or married or have given birth. I feel like in a country like India, there are so many women who would have still been in the age criteria eligibility bracket, and maybe they have come out of abusive marriages. Child marriage is so prevalent in our country. There are so many untold stories by women who are eligible for pageants only if that one rule is changed. So we still have the opportunity to talk about this change that we would want to see in the pageant system if asked as a question. And we can also further on add that we can follow in the footsteps of international pageants such as Miss Universe and Now that we have another organization making similar changes, it actually becomes a little easier to talk about it. Now, at the same time, we should also be aware of the fact that Miss Supranational as an international pageant has increased the age window for contestants up to the age of 32. And so, drawing from that example as inspiration, I believe Miss USA also was able to talk about the change, and it takes a lot of courage, but it also shows that you are a leader who can speak her mind. And my favorite quote is, "If not now, then when?" Now, this was so smart to do, because this was also the quote that she had written on her cape during the swimwear round. Now, when a contestant does that, it kind of ties back and puts the whole personal branding that she's been doing as a very consistent, smart businesswoman, a smart branding person, and that just shows the organization that she really knows what she's doing, and she's constantly going to be able to bring back the point home when she speaks in front of an audience. And you can go after what you want. The last sentence is where you need to be inspiring when answering an onstage question. So Miss USA checked off all of the boxes. She had the impact, she had the consistency, she had the inspiring statement in it as well, and it was just a 10 on 10 answer. The question for Puerto Rico was, if you are crowned Miss Universe, how would you represent all of this year's delegates through your reign? This question in particular does give you that opportunity to, one, sound like a lot of cliche pageant patty contestants. It really does, because the question was not very specific like Miss USA's question was. But that also means that now that you've made it to top 5 of Miss Universe, your answer should really stand out. And in questions like these, you need to remember what is the motto of the organization, because by this point in time, you would have a very good idea of what the owner of the organization, or just like the judges in general, what are they really looking for. And here I was not entirely satisfied with Puerto Rico's answer either. She said, "I will represent all of these years' delegates because I am a mirror of what a woman is." In the first sentence itself, I feel grammatically the statement doesn't really answer the question. The question was, how would you represent the delegates through your reign? And what she is answering is, why would you be a suitable representative? It's slightly different, but these nuances are what matter when it comes down to pageant Q&A. Let your voice echo in the chamber of time. Beautiful statement, but even when she ended her answer, in no way did I feel that she was specific enough with how she's going to represent. When you have a question like this, you need to really understand the objective of the question. You need to be on point with the branding that you are establishing and also what the organization is establishing, and this particular answer did just not do it for Miss Universe. If you've been enjoying this video so far, and if you're a pageant aspirant looking to get trained, you can check out my online as well as offline courses that I give at my pageant grooming academy, Conquer, linked in the description box below. You will find all of the details, and I look forward to having you. The next question was for Curacao, and she was asked, if you have the opportunity to speak with the leader of your country, what would you want to discuss? Very specific question, and so you should have a particular answer that you would talk about this particular cause. You could have chosen about your advocacy here, or you could have just spoken about maybe the message that you were putting out through your swimwear. But what she did is, "Hi to New Orleans, how are you guys doing today?" Now, I love the relatability here, but then I felt like that's maybe not the moment, because this was not the icebreaker segment of Miss Universe. This was the top 5 Q&A, and we would have wanted to see her directly answer the question. That's just my personal opinion. And she said, "I think there's a lot to be discussed." Did not answer the question for me. I don't know what she's going to talk about to the leader of the country, and that is why this answer was too short, not elaborate enough. She did have additional time to go on and finish her answer, and at the same time she wasn't really giving me one key point to take away. It was more like a generic discussion and not about, given the opportunity, I didn't feel like she fully utilized that given to her. Next question was for Dominican Republic. The question was, what is the most significant obstacle that women in your country face and what should be done about it? It's crucial to note here that there are two essential parts to this question. One is the obstacle and one is what should be done about it. You, as a contestant, you have to answer both parts of this question. What I loved about Dominican Republic's answer is that she used the standard sandwich model structure in her answer, and she talks about access to education. Very short and simple, and to the point, it answers the question. She goes on to elaborate why that exists as a challenge in her country. Now she jumps on to the solution part of the answer, where she says we need to make sure that kids are able to be kids. They want to play, educate themselves, not be mothers and not be wives, and it is the moment now to take action. Now, while she could have given a few more solutions in the answer itself, I still feel that it wasn't a bad answer at all. And she talks about the overall impact that they should be able to create through the actions that they take, which also works as an answer as of now. And so based on the top 5 Q&A, I feel it was a very clear shortlist itself that Dominican Republic, USA for sure, and Venezuela would be the ones making it to top 3, which was the eventual result as well. Like I mentioned in a previous video, this time's Miss Universe it just looked like such a strategic and fair competition, which I was very happy about. Now, coming to the top 3, this segment of the pageant had a common question. So the other 2 contestants put on silencing headphones while the first contestant is answering the question. And this question was, if you win Miss Universe, how would you work to demonstrate that this is an empowering and progressive organization? Very on brand as a question. It means that in this question you have to show that you can be the brand ambassador, you can be the face of Miss Universe, and if you were to speak on behalf of the organization, be a spokesperson in its true essence, then you need to be able to prove that with this particular answer. Dominican Republic's answer to this particular question was a little lackluster to me, in my opinion. She said, I understand that Miss Universe is looking for an ambassador who is able to communicate a message, which is downplaying what the organization is actually looking for, because they're looking for much more than that. She goes on to say, I've been working for women's rights for as long as I can remember, and it's been my goal every single day. While this answer sounds beautiful, but it doesn't prove that the organization is empowering and progressive. So that is where I felt like it didn't really answer the question. Again, it wasn't the most convincing answer. She's saying that she's going to show her leadership, but how was the question? The question was, how would you work to demonstrate? And in this answer, we didn't see how she's going to be working to be able to put out that message on behalf of the organization. Now, the second person to answer that question was Venezuela, and she went on to say, if I get to win Miss Universe, here again using the sandwich model, I will follow the legacy that many women across the universe have shown. I'm a fashion designer by profession, but I'm a designer of dreams as a woman. This last statement is one that has been going viral, and she's receiving a lot of appreciation for it, and I think that this answer could have been better if she had been given more time, because the timer had ended when she finished this statement. So the first half of the answer was actually not needed at all. You don't need to praise the organization in this answer. You should directly jump to what actions you would take. And just as she was reaching to that fashion designer and designer aspect of the answer, the time was over. An example of showing that if you stick to what the question is precisely asking, that way your answer would be more impactful and would fulfill the objective of the question. Now let's hear the winning answer of Miss USA to the same question. Well, I would use it to be a transformational leader. These 2 words have been spoken by Anne so often now, because she's been quite clear about that is exactly what she's looking for in a title holder. As a passionate designer, I've been sewing for 13 years and I use my fashion as a force for good. Again, very on brand with the crown as well. Just strike after strike, USA is killing it in this answer. We all have something special, and when we plant those seeds to other people in our life, we transform them and we use that as a vehicle of change. If you notice, there are so many keywords that are just so in sync with Miss Universe's vision as an organization, and she was so action oriented with her answer, which really proves that she is already doing the work that shows that she is an empowering and progressive woman for other women in the community. And so she would be the perfect ambassador for the Miss Universe organization. And so based on the Q&A segment, I think we can all agree that Miss USA was the clear winner, and she knew what she has to say, she knew how to say it, and she knew that the job that she's applying for, what the organization would want the ambassador to be saying for them. So that is how you nail a pageant Q&A segment. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you were able to take away quite a few learnings from this video on how you can perform better in your next pageant. As always, I love you guys so much, and until then, take care and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.